All right. Welcome to another episode of Why This Beer. Join us as we discuss all the things that make our craft beer scene unique and the people who help sculpt these great brews. I'm Aslan Graves of Main Street Brewing, and as always joined by Darren Binema of Neighborhood Brewing and Yellow Dog Penticton.
Hello everyone.
And it's been a bit of a break, but back at it, hit the ground running. We've got Brad Van Haastregt from GEC Systems. He helps sculpt some amazing packaging solutions and making sure that all the beverages we make it to the customer, and ideally the situation we drank them on the on the bright tank.
Yeah, that is the goal. Yes.
Yeah. So Brad, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, can you share a little bit of your journey in craft and how you got to where you are? I know it's not the most conventional.
So yeah, I'm a bit weird in the kind of craft beer scene where August this year will make my 10th year in BC craft beer, and I've never brewed a batch of beer ever. I've been a part of one collab and a pilot batch system. That was it. I've only ever done packaging, and I fell down this weird rabbit hole where I started in 2015 at the now defunct Postmark Brewing in Vancouver, just on Dunlevy and Alexander, and I ran this absolute beast of a Maheen clone. It was made by a company out of Victoria, where essentially they kind of went, yeah, that looks right. Yeah, okay, that's how that works.
The footprint on it was massive, wasn't it?
It was. It would take up probably 20 by 30 footprint. Like it was huge.
What?
And it would do maybe
2 head, right?
six head linear.
6.
But it would come in, make a right angle, and then get pushed across, similar to how a Maheen works. And then it would fill, cap, and then keep pushing. But every once in a while, the push arm that fed the 6 bottles, the seal would go, and it would just like violently push and send like 15, 20 bottles, like glass bombers, like
straight to the concrete
against the back wall. And it would just be, okay, stop, clear all the glass, wash everything down.
Yeah.
Just, oh man. And we would, a big day would be like 60 cases. Like that was like a full 12-hour day of bottling, like CIP and everything.
I like that we're like 30 seconds in. We're already into the the canning and bottling war stories. Like, we need a trigger warning at the top of this episode.
I think you guys gotta put it on. So I worked at Postmark doing their packaging and like kind of cellar operations. I did that for about 3 years or so. And then I went to work for West Coast Canning, which became Vessel, eventually after they acquired Sessions. And I worked with those guys for about 1.5 years until they opened their Alberta division. So I would do their... myself and my partner, Alex, would travel out to Alberta for 1.5 weeks, 2 weeks at a time. Can up and down between Edmonton, Calgary. We'd go out to like Fort Sask. We would be just everywhere. And I did that for a while, and then realized I was like, man, 100-hour work week. Like it's the money. This money's great. It's not glamorous.
Not sustainable.
Yeah. So I
living off of Twizzlers and low-fills.
Twizzlers, low-fills, pepperoni, Gatorade. Just everything you can picture from like a truck stop gas station. I still maintain Flying J and Hope, some of the best gas station pizza I've ever had. Like it's honestly, it's worth the trip. Next time you're going through Hope, grab your slice of pepperoni. It's spot on. But yeah, so I traded that in, and then I went to work for Factory Brewing, which became Craft Collective, and then eventually MOD, and then that went defunct. I did production management, shipping and receiving. I worked on their it was a 16 head rotary counter pressure filler for a while. It was interesting to say the least. It was broken more than it ran. That's a lot of work. And then I went to work for Mile 37 Craft Canning, and worked there for like 6 years, five and a half, 6 years, and traveled BC, Alberta, the Yukon, into Saskatchewan, canned away, and then I decided I'd try the wine industry. So I went to work for a local Penticton company called Artis. Darren, you might be familiar with them.
I am, yeah.
They do a similar concept to mobile canning, which is, but instead of unloading a canning line off your truck, setting it up at your brewery, CIP, start and go, it's a 53-foot semi-truck with a either 16 or 24 head rotary light depression or counter pressure filler. You steam everything, get everything ready for filtering, package a whole bunch of wine, clean up, and then you get the trailer trucked back to the shop. I did that for a year, and let's just say that the wine industry is very different than craft beer. It's I'm glad I did it. I learned a lot, but I gotta say I'm glad I'm back in the craft beer space. So then after about a year of that, a couple of business partners and I, we decided to start GEC Systems, with the intent of providing support and like ongoing maintenance to started as craft breweries, and now it's evolved into breweries, wineries, cideries, coffee, anyone who has a canning line specifically. We work with them. Yeah.
And very important work, because I think I don't know about yourself, Darren, but my experience with automation before the past 5-6 years is almost nothing.
Well, yeah, you can rely on all your years of your automation training that you went to, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not so much.
Yeah, I think I have somewhere in the realm of at least 7 years behind the wheel and fixing packaging equipment at the same time, and about 12.5 million cans canned. Just a few beverages.
Just a couple.
Yeah. So with Brad, your unique take and view on the not maybe take, but your view of the craft beer scene, being on the in the trenches, so to speak, on the packaging side. For the past 10 years, how has the industry changed, from your point of view?
It's definitely it's made a few swings. So it definitely started as like when I got into craft beer, the bomber bottle was king. Everybody put things into bottles. If you were real fancy, if you were Four Winds or Fieldhouse or someone, you had a 750 of something. And if nobody did cans. Then the market kind of shifted where people were like, oh, glass is, increasing price. It's cumbersome to work with. It's breakable. It's just a pain. And that's when you saw the market kind of swing into cans and the rise of mobile canning, because of course nobody really thought about putting a canning line into their brewery at the time. They just kind of crammed tanks wherever they would fit. Maybe you had room for a keg washer. Like that was left over.
I feel for a while too, there wasn't like much aside from like you either had one of those like October seamers.
Yep.
For like travelers,
like a
or
Dixie
like
seamer.
You had to move up huge. Like
there wasn't as many options for small canners as there are now.
No, you had like the Cask Sam's that was out, but other than that, your options were like a Wild Goose, and that was starting price $100,000.
Yeah,
right.
And it was a lot. So you got a rise of West Coast Canning. Vessel became a thing. They got really big. All of a sudden, other companies opened, and the market kind of went from everybody doing 355s. Like I remember going to Tofino Brewing in 2016, 2017, and they would crank out 150 hex worth of 355 Tofino lager, and that's the only can they would do. And Andy swore up and down he would never ever put anything in a 473. And here we are, 7-8 years later, everything on the market is in 473s. Right. You still get 355s, like it's still a thing, and I think it has its place for lagers and pilsners and crispy boys like that. But yeah, you don't see bombers anymore. There's maybe 1, 2, 3 breweries in the province that still do it. And even then, like, they're very few and far between.
Yeah, I mean, it naturally brings us to the Tofino Kelp Stout that you suggested we try.
Yeah.
I was saying to Brad earlier before you got on, Darren, that I honestly don't think I've had this beer since last time I had it would have been in a bomber.
Oh, I've had it a few times.
But I feel like for a while Tofino, didn't they kind of like move, like conscientiously try and keep it on the island for a while?
They did.
You occasionally get it in
they
draft.
Still do. A lot of their, they're pretty big, but a lot of their production is sold south of Tofino on the island. I think it's something like 80% of lager production is sold Nanaimo, Victoria, South Island. Like it's really popular beer out there.
That's great.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And as well, like the tasting room this time in the summer, it's insanity. Like, yeah.
Well, cheers, guys.
Yeah, cheers.
Chin chin.
Yeah. And just as good as I remember it.
Yeah.
It's delicious. We recently got to work with Tofino Brewing in a professional capacity, which was great. This is definitely one of the beers that I really enjoyed when I got into craft beer. And it was one of the first beers that I was like, oh, you can use other ingredients other than, the big four. And we recently got to go to Tofino and work with the crew there. And they had this beer on nitro at the tasting room. And it was,
oh, wow.
Oh, it was sublime. It's honestly, it's probably one of the best beers I've ever had, hands down. Like, yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that combination of like having that kind of like umami character from the kelp, and like, on a thick creamy nitro head sounds
that'd be great.
It's delicious. Cool. There was I hate to say it, there was a fair bit of after work socializing that happened with the Tofino gang, and
nice.
There was a few pints consumed there. Yeah,
I mean, you and the GEC guys are pretty personable. Checks out.
Yeah, we like to think we are.
And it's thirsty work. Yeah.
It is. It's it's the unglamorous side of packaging, and it's the unglamorous side of that where it's the work that nobody wants to crawl on the floor under a canning line and replace the lift table for the scene. Like, just nobody wants to do that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Now you got to convince them to get a chart toaster so we could have it on nitro everywhere.
I talked to Chris and Andy. Unfortunately, the $28,000 doser for one SKU is not in the budget. Yeah.
And trucking liquid nitrogen all the way to Tofino.
Oh, it would be like a 4-pack would be like $40. Like it would be unattainable. Yeah.
Be awesome. Yeah. Cool. Well, having worked in mobile canning, what are some of the unique solutions you've found along the way for some problems that craft brewers face? Without naming names, there's always going to be issues that come up.
Yeah.
So something that you can tackle that maybe are some low hanging fruit for people that are either getting a mobile canner in or even just like starting to can themselves, I guess.
So 90% of like actual canning day happens about 24 hours before you turn the lights on, when your brewer or your cellar guy is getting the product to where you want it. Temperature wise, carb level, that planning far exceeds what you can do on actual canning day. Now, one of the pitfalls that happen to people all the time is you get there in the morning. Obviously, the mobile companies, they all have some kind of C-Box or Hoffman's Pentair test carb. And I test the carb and I say, Darren, it's your logger is sitting at 245 and 0 degrees, which in the eyes of a packaging guy, that's perfect. That's absolutely beautiful. I can guarantee you like minimal waste on that beer. And then you say, oh, I really want 2.5. So you fire on the carb stone and you have a coffee and you forget about it. And all of a sudden, it's like 2.75. We got to blow it down. We've shaken the crap out of it. And now we're standing around and you're like 15, 20% loss. You're looking at me like, what the hell are you doing with my beer? And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's nothing I can do. Do you want me to come back tomorrow? Oh, no, I can't. So what are we doing? Yeah. We would always tell people that my good buddy Jim Sixpack and his brother Jim 12 Case, they can't tell. Like, they can't tell the difference between 2.45 and 2.5. Just let it be.
Yeah.
I would personally rather can something that's like 2.8 volumes and like 1 degree that's been sitting in a tank hanging out for like 2 days than I would like 2.5 and blown down or carved up that morning. Like, it's just.
What's the highest carb you've gone with something that is like an atmospheric filler? Like
atmospheric filler, I've done 3.2 at 2 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah, which is not, it's not pretty. We're not breaking land speed records at all. You're in the realm of like 18 to 20 cans a minute on a forehead.
Yeah.
And you're still in the realm of like 10 to 15% loss. Like, it's not a pretty canning day.
But you're saying it's
something
doable.
Like, if someone's like, oh, I've promised this beer to, this private liquor store and it's got to go out. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think Wild Goose has like a chart of kind of where your limitations are for their atmospheric fillers, where it's like temperature versus volumes of CO2.
Yeah.
I mean, all rules are meant to be broken, but
definitely.
They give you some guidelines that they'll kind of be like confident that it'll work in.
Yeah, and there is the thing with like a goose too. There's so much flexibility in what you can do with the settings and the pressure plates and all that you can take those rules and you can flex them pretty good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, 3 volumes at like 4 degrees, I'm just gonna be like, no, that's not. I'm sorry, no. Like,
not even worth doing. Yeah.
Not even worth opening the tank for. Do you want me to put 200 liters on the floor? Yes, Great. I'll do that. Yeah. Then again, at Beer Brewing, they have a cute little 2-head filler goose. He's canning Go Easy and a couple other beers. He aims for like 2.3, 2.35. Hits around 0 degrees every time. And he's pushing like 35 cans a minute on a 2-head. Like, it's just flying.
Yeah.
Because its consistency is key, right?
Yeah. It's always like, I always say to our packaging team is like, if you're like, that extra 2 cans per minute is so minimal compared to like your downtime. Like, if you have any downtime, that's going to eat away any like.
Oh, any gains you've made?
Any gains you've made for like 1 extra can per minute. Like,
it's the classic
your
adage.
Decal's problem. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's the classic adage of slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yeah.
If you're redlining your machine and it's struggling to keep up, you're having to put lids on, you're trying to keep up with the decal, do this, do that, check this, check that, and you're going to be all frazzled. You'll miss something. Not only are you going to slow down, but your QC is going to suffer. Like, maybe your foam cap's not the greatest, so your DO pickup is higher, and that like nice hazy that you two brewed and spent thousands of dollars on hops on is now toast. Totally. Because your pickup was like 30 to 40 parts per billion. Like, it's
Yeah. Speaking of dissolved oxygen, like, do you have any tips for just kind of if someone's new to packaging or someone's been packaging a long time and now they're first hearing about dissolved oxygen, why is it a problem? And what's been your experience of like easy ways to solve it? I know it's like pretty multifaceted. There's no silver bullet.
There's no one. A few ways. So you always have to take it into like the idea of you can only start with what you're given. So if and this goes back to your cellar team, right? If your cellar team is purging your tanks well, they're tightening tri-clamps, and your transfer is good, your carb is good, you're going to have a low starting control number for your DO, right? If you're starting with 100 parts per billion in the tank, no matter what I do as a packaging guy, I can't make that number better. I can't magically subtract DO out of the liquid while I can. Now, if you're starting, let's say you're starting with like 20 in tank, which is a fairly common starting point. Things like a good foam cap, making sure that your purge is actually connected to the CO2 and that you can feel it blow on the back of your hand. Not just be like, oh yeah, no, the things are going up and down. It must be working. That doesn't cut it. I worked with a brewer on the Sunshine Coast. Great dude. He always carried a small little screwdriver in his Carhartt overall pocket. And whenever he would look at a line or something on the tank, and his brain would like register that there's a tri-clamp there, he would take out this little screwdriver and he would just give it an extra little half turn. And that, believe it or not, just that little bit of extra tri-clamp tension can save you 30, 40 points on a pickup because it's creating a little venturi, sucking in oxygen, and you're essentially dosing your beer. There's a million little things you can do, but realistically, if you've got a good foam cap and you're capping on foam, that's the bulk of it. Yeah.
Do you find a foam cap is really important with an atmospheric filler for something like counter pressure, where it's kind of hard sometimes to like I remember learning at one point that like you shouldn't have those little fish eyes on top. You want like a nice smooth foam, essentially.
You do. You want like a nice solid looking foam, kind of like you would get in a Milko pour. Right. Yeah. You want that nice, hard, dense foam. You don't want that like fisheye, frog's eggs. That's not CO2. That's just oxygen caught from, it's like air just trapped on the top. That's not what you want at all. Yeah. So with a counter pressure, it's harder to get that foam cap because it does dwell a little longer, lets the pressure quantity equalize. You can do certain things like you can increase your release pressure so that you get a little more pop.
Yeah.
And kind of like take the beer and I don't want to say beat on the beer. You never want to, but like push it around, be a little aggressive with it. Especially if your temperature is good. Like if you're canning something that's 2.5, 2.65, -1, -2, and it's not foaming, like don't be afraid to slam it into can, force it in there, agitate it up. You'll still have good carb retention. You're not going to get a ton of breakout, but just enough. You got that nice pillowy foam cap, lid on, seam, boom. Another thing you can do both with a cask or a goose or like an American counter pressure is you never really want cans waiting at the seamer. It's back to that idea of like, I can get 36, 37, 38 cans a minute, but I'll have cans backed up at the seamer. Okay, those cans that are sitting there are now a little bit of CO2 is releasing and you're letting a little oxygen in. It's better to do like 34 where it's a fresh fill directly into the seamer and you'll get a better DO pickup than you will if it's just sitting there waiting. As well as soon as you have like any kind of stoppage, don't try to save those beers. Like it's 5 beers on on a 5-head filler. That's 5 beers, 4 beers. Like drink them that day. take them, put them in the staff pile. Like,
yeah.
The idea of like a slipped lid and then you like manually put one on and send it through, or
it's like if you get it pretty quick and your foam cap's good, like maybe it won't be so bad. Would I want to do it on like a big hazy IPA? Probably not. But on a nice crispy lager, I'll let that one go. Yeah.
I tested a couple of those because I was curious, because I've seen that before. You put the lid on top, just it misses a lid, you throw a lid on top of it, throw it through the steamer, and you're gonna get what I found over 200 ppb.
Oh yeah,
coming out of that.
Just
immediately. That will take your shelf life of, let's say, like a 7% hazy. It'll take the shelf life from like 3 months to a week, and you'll get this nice brown cardboardy flavored liquid that nobody wants to drink that, right?
No, nice.
That's definitely something I'm like always like, okay, you guys go ahead, steam it, but like put it aside.
Yep. We're not doing like a crazy high speed. We're not doing 1,800 cans a minute. We're doing enough that you can see the can, take it, put it off to the side, put it in the low fill pile, put it in the staffies.
It's one of those things where we all taste our beers in like ideal situations.
Oh yes.
And then you put it on the pallet, it goes out, the delivery driver takes it, it gets dropped off at the liquor store, and then it sits like next to the fridge, not in the fridge, right where it's the warmest possible thing.
Oh yeah.
and there's there is an angelic ray of light probably shining on it. It looks great, but like with that pyramid
it's just
stack.
And the labels are all nice, and they've got this like metallic aspect to them, and they just glint in that ray, and they just and then you try it, and you're like, oh yes, that is a giant pile of wet cardboard. I'm glad I spent $18 on that 4-pack. I'm never buying that again. Like, it's unfortunate. And private liquor store is one thing, but like, let's say you are sending it to the LDB, and now it goes from Darren from neighborhood in Penticton, goes all the way to store 100 in Vancouver, sits there for 2 months, and then gets trucked up to Prince George and put on the shelf at the very back, and now it's 6 months later, and someone is just trying a neighborhood beer for the first time in Prince George. Like,
you're trying to give it. That's the thing, is like you're trying to give every one of your beers the best chance it has to like show in the best light, whatever conditions are. You try to minimize all those like other conditions as much as you can of like transport and how long is it sitting in storage or whatever. But I got some
everyone's
playing in the same arena, so as long as your beer can be better than someone else's, that's all you can do.
And I got some great advice when I worked at Postmark many years ago, was that I'm essentially the last person to see this beer, so therefore all of the hard work of all of the brewers, the cellar guys, everybody is on me to make sure that it's the highest quality in can, or in this case it was in bottle, but it's the idea of, take pride in your work, because if I screw up, it's going to reflect poorly on everybody's hard work, and it's important.
I mean, speaking of which, we've got the Canadian Packaging Awards coming up this weekend.
It's this weekend, right? It's in, This goes to show I've just been like I've been so busy that I've been like, oh yeah, no, that's this weekend. Yeah, totally.
Every time there's like an awards thing and it's like we get something, I'm just like, go to the packaging guys. I'm like, thank you so much. Good job.
Yeah.
This is all you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we all make great beer, but sometimes it just doesn't make it to out past the bright tank in the same condition.
And I hate to say it, it's like there's things you can do, like little steps, little things that take you from like, a B brewery to an A brewery, and it's little things like, let's talk about DO pickup. Let's talk about cleanliness. Let's talk about, how your labels look. Are they straight? Like it's basic. Are you putting out is your off-pack staff putting out crinkled labels? Like, you pay attention to these things. Like, nothing worse than you grab a can, you run your hand down it, and you're like, oh, there's a giant wrinkle right where my hand goes. You know, maybe you don't think about that right away, but subconsciously, it sticks. It's a thing.
Yeah. It's like if you can't pay attention to that, like, what other things are going astray, right? And how this beer is made, right? So that it all reflects. I always say, like, to our team too, when they're clean, like, we clean our kegs obviously on a keg washer, but it's like the outside of the keg also needs to be clean as well, and that just means you're manually scrubbing it with, like, a brush and some caustic, maybe just like scrub the outside of it so it looks good.
Let it soak for like 5 minutes.
None of your customers are going to see it, only like the bar staff, right? And so, but like, everything matters. It's all an impression for sure, right?
When I worked at Artis, their big thing is that all wine cases, like a flat of beer, you can see what the beer is. Like, you don't need a case label or anything. But with wine, they're all pretty much sterile white sealed boxes. Right. So you get a corner label, and it tells you the SKU, the day it was packaged, the barcode, whatever, all the pertinent information. Management there was very particular about that the label has to go on exactly 1 inch or 2 fingers from the bottom of the case, split perfectly and straight. Because it's the first thing, it's the last thing you do, and it's the first thing the customer sees.
Right.
And if they see, like, oh, it's at like a 30-degree angle, or it's askewed, or it's wrinkled, it must be that these guys don't have a lot of care put into their packaging. What does that say about the brewing or the winemaking, or, you know, name it, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's good advice for sure.
Yeah. All the little things, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, during the canning run, you've made it through, like, your first the 24-hour checks before you've scheduled your packaging day, setting up packaging team to succeed. During the canning run, what are some things to, like, help confirm that, like, you know, your operations are in check for your seamer,
so the first thing you want to do is, obviously, you're watching your fills as they're happening. You're making sure you got a nice foam cap. You're making sure that it's seaming properly. Your weights are good. Unlike in glass, where you can visually see the level, obviously we can't see through aluminum. And nor are we bougie enough to afford X-ray machines. So we rely on just basic, you know, water weighs 1 gram, or 1 mil weighs 1 gram. Jokes aside, beer's pretty close. So a 473 mil can lid label should weigh about 495 grams. Now, you get a little wiggle room, and some people call it 490 as their cutoff. Some people call it 489. Overfilling doesn't really matter unless you're pasteurizing. But you want to make sure that your weights are good. And then you want to do seam checks. They're your biggest indicator of QC. So I usually do it within the first 5 to 10 flats off the line. I'll do a full destructive seam test. So that's, I'll grab the weight, I'll denote the time, the thickness of the seam, the height of the seam. I drain it out, and then I do a full breakdown where I'll check the cover hook and the body hook. Once that's good to go, I give, like, the green light, full send, let's finish the canning run. And then I'm doing at least a 6-point non-destructive test, depending on how fast your canning line's going, every 20 to 40 minutes. And that's just 6 points of thickness and 6 points of height. Take an average, denote the time, denote the weight. You should never do a full seam check on a low fill. You need the proper amount of liquid, foam, back pressure to form an adequate seal. It's a very easy slippery slope to go down to test a low fill right off the bat. Hey, our seams are great. Full send, let's do it. And then you get a call from, you know, Jim's Liquor Emporium saying, "Hey, Darren, like I've got 5 flats of leaky beer. Like what the heck, man? Like what's going on?" Yeah,
nightmare fuel.
Oh, it's the worst. And there is a couple there's a bulletproof test. You can indeed you just take some HLT water, 80-90 Celsius, and fire a full-on can in there. Let it sit for 5-10 minutes. It should come out hard as a rock because of how the relationship, temperature and pressure works. Whatever your beer is carb to at 90°C, the can will fail. So usually what we do, sink them in the hot water, let them sit, and then I take the whole thing out to the parking lot, and I chuck a beer up in the air, and I let it hit the floor, and I let it go everywhere. I see where it fails. And it should fail sidewall, bottom, sidewall, mouthpiece, top, bottom, and then the seam. If it's failed anywhere but the seam, nothing barring like re-fermentation in the can can leak that seam. Yeah.
Your seam should be like the best, like the strongest part after you're done sieving the can. So
yeah, because if you think about it, the way a double S seam works is it's like 4 layers of wall thickness aluminum folded over each other. There's
plus some glue in there, and
some glue, and like I've had a few manufacturers tell me that when you're doing a seam breakdown, you should never use glue as an indicator of a good seam. However, anecdotally, I've never seen a bad seam have too much glue. If that makes sense. Like I've never seen a bad seam with glue.
That was like sticky. Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll notice it's there. It's like this gray goop that comes out when you pull the cover hook off the body. Yeah.
That's that little gasket essentially that's like sprayed in there.
Yeah, it's just a little gasket in the groove of the lid that forms over and compresses and creates a little extra seal.
Yeah, I guess to be clear, like the glue is never interacting with
it never touches the beer.
Yeah, because it's in between layers of aluminum.
Yeah.
Just for people that don't know.
Yes, no, there's no, and there's actually no aluminum that touches your product either. There's
that's true.
There's a liner, and then the aluminum, and then an outer liner of the can, and then either your shrink sleeve or your PSL label or whatever. Yeah, there's no actual metal that touches the beer.
Yeah, that's kind of the old remember. It's where older guys will be like, "Oh, it tastes like aluminum," or "It tastes."
Yeah, that's the big debate is like, should I have it out of a glass or out of a can?
Yeah.
And honestly, you guys are drinking out of glasses right now, and I'm having it out of the can, and it's just the same to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you more for BPanny too, or epoxy?
It's 6 of one, a half dozen of the other. BPanny is slightly cheaper. You can use it in a wide variety of applications. Most beers are fine in BPanny. If you're doing something super acidic, super sour, or say wine or cider, then we'll start talking about epoxy liners, just because it's a little more resistant. That's where you can get some weird flavor combinations of a BPanny can that had some sour beer or some wine that's sat on a shelf for say 6 months.
Yeah.
Which in the wine world is a drop in the bucket, right? Like you might see
the store yet.
Yeah. Right. So but you might get a weird nose on the wine. You might get a weird little flavor compound, and that's from the BPanny being eaten by the pH.
And so, what do you think is a safe pH before?
We've really seen no problems with like 3.8, 3.9 in that realm for a beer. Yeah.
Yeah. But like once you're getting into 3.3.
Yeah, then I would look at like a epoxy line can.
Yeah, it depends on like you can look at the specs of the suppliers too. They have like pretty good spec sheets on all these, and
they do. And definitely
there's new liners coming out like every couple years. It's like BPanny 2 now, and
it's definitely like
it's like cars.
Yeah, and it's like definitely check with your manufacturer, check your specs, like double check, do your homework. But
So, Super Ends or LOE?
Well, as Darren knows, they've stopped making Super Ends.
I do know.
So
yeah,
you'll see a lot of people switching to LOEs in the next 6 months, 6 to 9 months. Darren, you got a fun bill coming your way. Not from us, but yeah, Super essentially Tricor and a few other importers emailed their clients and said, "Hey, we're running out of Super Ends. Like, place your orders now, but you're going to have to switch." And unfortunately, it's not a cheap swap. For a goose, you're looking at about $65,000 to $7,000. Like, it's not a cheap.
Yeah,
you're essentially engine swapping
your chuck and your dies have to be replaced, so you're just choosing new ones for that. Yeah.
And so you're essentially engine swapping your canning line, and it's precision tooling, and it's just unfortunately it's not cheap, and that's the way she goes.
Yeah, so. It sounds like Crown is phasing out Super Ends due to, I think, people are going to CDLs a lot more, so instead of LOEs or instead of Super Ends, and so the new
what's CDL?
CDL is like a different.
It's like Crown. It's like a variation on. It's not an LOE, but it's not a Super. It's kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Because wasn't the whole idea?
You used to be able to tell an LOE from a Super, because a Super would have the slanted angle, and an LOE is the straight edge. A CDL is like a little bit of an angle into a dip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Crown is going to now have an ISC, which is like their newest version of their slim, less metal lid.
Yeah.
But it's basically like a CDL. It's a competitive to that.
Yeah, it's like a
because
the
whole idea
clone,
is to trim as much aluminum out of the lid as possible while still keeping it structurally sound.
Yeah, because that was the original idea behind Super Ends, was it would save I think it was something like 1/10 of a gram per lid over how many billion cans that Anheuser-Busch does every year. It's a huge savings in aluminum, essentially.
Yeah. And then it's like a little bit savings on your shipping too, because you get like slightly more volume.
Slightly more, like one sleeve extra in a pallet kind of thing.
Yeah. So we're that's for us. Like, we're changing over to. Well, we'll see what we're changing over to in the near future after the summer. Away from Super Ends. We have a pretty good relationship with our supplier, so looking at hopefully getting some of the tooling picked up by them. So
because you guys do a fair volume through them. Yeah,
we buy a lot of lids.
A lot of lids, a lot of cans.
Our lids come on a pallet. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's people that do more. If you like packaging, if you're a packaging nerd and you're listening to this podcast, you should definitely check out. There's a Treehouse has a YouTube channel, and they show kind of like their packaging line and how things go with that. It's really entertaining. Good. It's really in depth look at their canning line, and I think it was like a pallet comes off their canning line every 4 minutes.
Something like that.
Pretty sweet. And they have like their lid sleeve like loading, and it's like 18 lid sleeves like snaked to the canning line.
It's all gravity and push, and it's incredible. Yeah, I've seen that.
It's pretty awesome. So definitely into that. If you're into this, if you come this far, check that out. It's pretty cool to see.
We've gotten pretty rabbit holey, but like that YouTube channel definitely that's a deep dive into the obscure regions of packaging.
Yeah, it's awesome. Cool. Well, how did GEC come to be? And you kind of talked about your business partners and like, kind of what projects are you working on? What's kind of like your long-term goals, I guess?
Okay, so GEC came to be after. Let's see how I can word this without dropping names. There was an incident that happened in the craft beer scene that had some leaky seams, let's say that, and then between a few, my business partner Jess and I, we got several phone calls from people being like, "Hey, Brad, Jess, you guys have canned a million things. Like, can you come give us like a third-party opinion on our seams, and we'll give you a case of beer." Well, it turns out you can only work for so many flats of beer before you're like, "Well, I should turn this into something." Over several, after work sessions, a couple of beers with the fellas, the four of us decided, hey, why not? Let's take a stab at this. Let's try it out. What's the worst that happens is we crash and burn, and I have to go back and get a job running a canning line. Oh well, I'll just keep the status quo going.
Yeah.
So we officially we started planning in Thanksgiving of 2022. And then officially became a business, shares, investors, the works, around Festive Ale. So mid-April of 2023. And by August of 23, it was busy enough that I could quit my job full-time to go work at my side job. And now I'm full-time Monday to Sunday GEC employee. Yeah. So we're busy.
Yeah.
Nice.
We do everything from maintenance, repairs, consulting services, along the lines of Darren, you guys want to get a rotary filler put in at Yellow Dog Okanagan, and you don't know what's out there or whatever. You bring us in, we talk about production goals, capacity, the works, and then kind of lay out like, okay, here's this option, this cost, yada, yada. We source used equipment for people. We source new equipment for people. If, Aslan, you want to upgrade the CP4 you have and you find, a goose in Texas that you want to buy, but you don't know about it, you can fly us down. We go out, we kick the tires, take it for a test drive, and then I tell you, like, Aslan, that's a giant piece of garbage, don't buy that, or that's a steal of a deal, you should give that man money right now. Like, that's kind of thing. As well as the other side of our business is we are currently in the design phase of our own canning line for market. Because right now, there's currently only one real major Canadian supplier, and that's Cask. Good enough machines, they work, they get the job done. But, classic, we think we can do better. So we're looking at a, compact 6-head atmospheric that can, through some wizardry of seaming, we're going to look at like 60 to 75 cans a minute. Really kind of push that envelope of how fast can you go in a controllable manner, and just kind of say like, oh, instead of you having to upgrade the goose at neighborhood, we can sell you a modular seamer, drop it in, and then we can the choke point's no longer your seamer. We can now really open up the fill heads and let it fly and see what we can do. As well as, so then that's one big giant project that I'm constantly working on. And then the other one is a small scale inline tunnel pasteurizer. Yeah.
Everyone's ears perked up.
Yep. And like, when I say like small, I mean like compared to the Molson Coors, the AB InBev size ones that are 300 feet long and 200 feet wide. Like, we're looking at a footprint of roughly 6 feet wide, about 15 feet long. Some kind of semi-automatic infeed, manual / automatic outfeed. That's still kind of up in the air of how we want to do it. As you guys probably both know, the more automation you put into something, the more the price tag goes up, and then I have to justify to not only you guys, but your bosses and ownership that I'm like, hey guys, $250,000, please. Like it's just this, ever ballooning number. yeah, we're looking. There's been a huge rise, as I'm sure you guys are both aware, a huge rise in non-elk and low elk products, be it a beer, cider, mocktail, or some kind of soda or something. And there's been a lot of like, we're the Wild West of the craft non-elk scene, where there's some people who are, diehard, I have to pasteurize this, so they're using like a water bath pasteurizer, or some kind of chemical preservative, or some kind of organic preservative. Or there's other people who are like, I'm just going to put that out in the market and keep it cold and drink it fresh.
Yeah.
If it goes bad, it goes bad. Which is, I wouldn't recommend that.
No.
Not at all. But yeah, that's what people are doing. Some people are only doing draft. Some people are only doing out of their tasting room draft. Like, it's all over the map of what people are doing. And I think it's like anything in craft beer. The big boys, they spent billions of dollars. They figured out a way to do it.
Yeah.
We'll get there. And if you tell me in 10 years that everybody is pasteurizing their non-elks as well as their alcoholic beers, I'd be like, all right, that tracks, because that's what the big boys do. And it's kind of where we've
just like how we all thought we would never can.
Yep.
Right.
It was going to be growlers. They told me it was just going to be growlers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't get away from the can. It'll find you.
No.
Gotta have that can-do attitude.
Yeah. It's such a versatile format that you can do. And I think that's what we're seeing now too, is like, we're seeing, obviously there's the 355 and the 473 standard.
Yeah.
We're seeing people do 355 sleeks, 250 sleeks, 200 slims. Aslan, people doing stovepipes. Like, it's we're kind of now in that realm of like
Aslan's doing
and 250s.
The 250
standards. Yeah.
Yeah.
The little stubby standards. Yeah. And it's like we've all kind of collectively said, oh, cans are okay. Yeah. And now we're kind of feeling out the edges of like, what can we put in a can? What kind of format's the best? We've put beer, wine, coffee, soup, THC beverages, you name the liquid, I've put it in a can. One of the coolest cans I've ever done, and I'm waiting for someone in the craft beer scene to make this work. But it was a gentleman who was doing bone broth. And he had these self-heating cans from Japan.
What?
And so you picture like a standard 355, but the height of a 473, where the bottom is a twist, and in the can is about half inch, 3/8 of an inch tall little bump. And between the aluminum in that bump is a little tiny chunk of thermite. And you crack the quarter turn on the bottom, magnesium sparker, lights the thermite. 2 minutes later, 90 degrees Celsius soup in a can. Wow. And so the idea was that you would buy this as a to-go meal replacement, crack the can, put it in essentially like a Yeti-style can koozie.
Yeah.
And then 2 minutes later, you have a hot can of soup to go. So I'm waiting until that comes into craft beer somehow. I'm waiting for someone to make like a beer you heat up.
That's we finally cracked the hot scotchy packaging format.
There you go.
Totally
now,
got it
now.
That
being said, each one of these cans was like $7. Like, it was
worth it.
It would be like something that you have to do as like just for the brewery staff at the staff party. Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you miss summer and want a hot lager? Don't worry. It's January. We can give you that summer lager that's been sitting out on the porch for way too long.
It makes me think, too, of like, why don't we do the opposite, right? And just get like whatever they have in those like medical ice packs.
Oh, the ones
put in the bottom. You got yourself a cold beer wherever you are.
I'm sure there's some engineer at Crown or Ball or somebody has been working on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the coolest things we've ever done.
Whatever happened to the AGD pull top?
Yes, the AGD pull top.
Like, did a baby get its arm stuck in it, or
no,
like what?
No. I haven't seen ever like an official report of what happened, but the hot goss rumor mill is that the our dear friends at the LDB essentially said, "Sorry, you can't have that. It promotes drinking in children." Like it was some weird, vague rule, because this was right around the time I was working for West Coast Canning. AGD had these pop-top cans. You could get them here. They were great.
It was like, how much does a sleeve of these lids cost? And
it was honestly like maybe double the price of a regular lid.
Do the lids like fully pull off? Is that the idea?
It's like, let's go here.
It's awesome.
Like a tuna can, and you just hold lid, and then you're like drinking out of an empty can.
Right.
But yeah, it was we had gone down the road of looking at bringing in a pallet or two of these lids, and we were told all of a sudden everyone who wanted one was like, no, can't have them. Like the LEB told us no. So
was it the
fun place?
Was it the same seamer as well?
It's a 202 LOE seamer.
Dang.
Yeah.
I mean, you could easily swallow the double cost on a lid by just like switching from a metallic label to like a white backed label. There you go.
Yeah.
There's the
cost.
You
could easily.
And that's the new hazy IPA can. You can get your schnoz in there.
Yeah. And honestly, like you could, even if you had to increase the price of the can by 10 cents.
Yeah.
To cover that double lid cost, like the sheer novelty of being able to like pop the whole top, get your face in there, it'd be great.
But it's not. It's funny because it's not anywhere else. It must not just be the BCL.
They do exist elsewhere. I just know of AGD that uses them here. Like,
we'll get the guild on it.
Yeah. Call
very important stuff, actually. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, Brad, what excites you about the Canadian brewing industry right now? I mean, you've been in this, like you said, almost 10 years. You've seen the ups and downs. You've seen like the BC craft beer boom, the like later Alberta beer boom as well. You've been to probably more breweries than most people ever will in their lifetime. Traveling around and like seeing. So like, like kind of what's your experiences and like what excites you about the industry now?
I think definitely at one point I felt since moving to Penticton I've fallen slightly behind, but at one point I think I'd been at like visited or worked in 95% of craft breweries in BC, and I was on a semi first name basis with all of the back of house staff, and that was part of the problem. Is like my friends be like, "Oh, we should go check out Yellow Dog in Port Moody. You've been there a million times." I'm like, "Yeah, the tasting room staff doesn't know who the hell I am. Like, what do you want me to do?" I'm actually like really enjoying this kind of resurgence of the crispy boy, of us as trying to redefine lagers, going back to like Czech Pils, just kind of keeping it classic and simple. That's what I enjoy drinking. My two kind of polar opposites are in the wintertime, it's stouts, fair pint of Guinness here and there. But in the summertime, it's generally something crispy, light, crushable, hopefully in a 355, because by the time I get down to that much lager left, I'm like, I would have liked a fresh one.
Yeah, fresh cold one. Yeah,
fresh cold one. It's like, do I need that extra 4 ounces in a can? Yeah. No, I don't. I don't really. But I'm excited for this kind of like resurgence of a classic style. And I'm interested to see.
It's like the year of the lager for so long, and now it finally is.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm interested to see how the BC scene and like the Canadian scene in general kind of weathers this storm of economic uncertainty and closures and the whole what's happening down in the South with tariffs and this and that and the other, and it's like it's a bit of a tumultuous time.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of breweries are either going to have to they're either going to pivot and maybe move to non-alcs or low alcs, or maybe something all entirely different. Or they're going to have to really dig deep and innovate, and they can't just put out another hazy IPA with Simcoe and Nelson Sauvin. Like, it's just, that's not going to cut it anymore. So that's kind of what I'm excited for. As dreary and drab as that sounds, of people are going to close their doors, I think this is the fire under people's butts that's going to you're going to drive that innovation. You're going to drive, that kind of discoverability of craft beer, of why we all got into beer in the first place, was this cool, like, I could try this and this combo and I make this whole new thing.
Yeah.
Instead of like, I mash in with my base malts and my 2-row. I put some Whirlpool hops in, and then I dry hop far too many kilos. I package it, and it's slightly hazy, and it's like 7%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it does sound pretty good. And that could be anybody's craft beer or anybody's hazy IPA here in BC. Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yo, I just did one of those today. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Simcoe and Rowaka. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. For those new to craft beer or just starting in the industry, what advice do you have to share? And I guess because you are, like you said, you never really brewed a beer, and you've been kind of on the packaging side of things, I'm sure we have listeners that are in the same boat, like, just working away. You're probably canning right now as they listen to this, like a one earbud in.
Yeah.
And like, hopefully they're hearing this as the seamer is not, making it a problem. The Twisterance isn't stuck.
And there's just a shredded can coming out, and there's beers overfilling and dumping into the tub.
We'll talk.
The labels need to be switched right now.
Yeah.
Man, as they're coming out, why are they crooked? Why? I just refed the thing. Like, yeah.
But I guess, what advice do you have for them? How do you stay zen in this kind of environment that we're just kind of joking about? But
okay, so my advice for anyone who has applied to get into craft beer, and they're going to be this master brewer, and they're going to start doing recipe development right off the bat, and they're going to go to all these cool events and travel to Europe and check out, crazy craft breweries over there and like old school breweries and whatever. You kind of got to like take a step back, temper your expectations. This industry is very much, you got to pay your dues, you got to start at the bottom. But once you're in it, it's a very forgiving, very inviting. There's lots of support. So if you just keep your head down, and if you get stuck, ask for help, and no one's gonna, belittle you for not knowing something, right? Like, nowhere that I've ever worked have I asked a question and someone's like, "Oh, that's stupid. Why don't you know that?" It's a very, like, everybody in the craft industry is very focused on growth. Like, they are in it for the beer and the people, right?
Yeah.
And the ones that haven't, those breweries have come and gone, and those people have washed out. And the ones that persist are very much it's a very supportive environment. How do I stay zen while canning for 14 hours a day? When I first started at West Coast Canning, Matt Leslie, co-founder of West Coast Canning and Vessel, told me one time that if you're ever like starting to tunnel vision, the fills aren't going right, the seamer's eating cans, the twisterant's stuck, the labeler's screwed up, your pack-off help's not there, cans are falling off the table, everything is going wrong. Take a step back, have a deep breath, and realize this isn't heart surgery. It's not rocket science. You're literally canning the world's favorite drink. It's just a beer. Just, stop, reassess, be like, oh, if I just fix the twisterants for 5 minutes, I can just go that much smoother, right? Like, it's the whole, as much as I'm a proponent, and those who have canned with me and who I still work with know that I'm very much like, go, go, go. Let's get it done. Let's have beers. Sure. When we're done in the tasting room, let's have 17 pints together. I don't care. We got a job to do. As much as I'm that person, I'm very much like, okay, let's stop. Let's check what's going on. Can we fix this problem? Oh, it's a 2-minute fix that's going to save us an hour of headache. Let's address this now. Right? And I just kind of keep it at that attitude of like, this is my keel. I'm just rolling along. I'm doing my job. Something goes wrong. I address that problem. Okay, I nip that small problem in the butt. Keep the ball going. Keep it smooth. Keep it like steady. And then before you know it, you're on your last row of cans. The last flat's going through the seamer. And then great, you're CIPing. You can have a cheeky beer, and then you're done. Right? Wow. The worst thing you can do is get in your head of being like, oh my god, the twist rinse is screwing up. Oh my god, I'm wasting. I've put beer on the floor, and there's and then you just go down this like black tunnel vision of like self-doubt, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's just, you can't come back from it, and you just gotta kind of be like, oh yeah, no, it's just beer. Like, yeah. Now that being said, don't just dump, 10 hacks on the floor trying to get a beer going. Know your limit, play within it, kind of thing. But also don't take it too seriously. Like, just keep it in the moment, keep it fresh, carry on.
Nice. Yeah, when you're not, at the workshop, how do you like to spend your time? I know you like, doing a little fishing, a little camping and stuff, but yeah, is that what keeps you busy?
Yep. So in my what seems like infinite spare time, one of my main reasons for moving to the Okanagan is that I am a big outdoorsman. Hunting, fishing, camping, the stereotypical, on the weekend I'm up crack of dawn, out in the woods. Aslan and I were talking before recording about morel picking. It's that time of year. I unfortunately went out and I didn't have a stellar day. I still found some, but it was just nice. Just turn the phone off, head out in the woods, and just listen to not a lid stack going ching 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 ching. Just tune that out. Yeah, that's generally where I am. Yeah.
Nice.
Gotta have that outdoor time.
Yeah.
Clear the mind.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Great.
Brad, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for the wisdom from.
You're very welcome.
12.5 million cans.
12.5 million cans. I can't say. I used to tell people it was 12. It was like it was so many million beers for the crew.
Right.
But I've since switched, and now I've done so much else. It's just cans.
Yeah.
Can't say 12.5 million beers anymore.
Yeah.
Great.
But thanks for the knowledge, the help, and all that.
Yeah, if someone's listening and they need the help and they want to contact you, I guess just look up GEC Systems or fire you an email.
Yeah, they can look us up on Instagram. It's just GEC Systems, or they can just send us an email. It's sales@GEC Systems. Or if you ask around a lot, you'll probably end up with my phone number from someone in the industry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I must say, and like, you guys have always had creative solutions for creative problems. Let's
say. That's what we specialize in.
Yeah. If you think your problem is too small or too big, I think don't worry about it. Brad and his team have it. The experience to do it.
We can answer like 80% of the problems with a simple phone call.
Yeah.
It's doing this weird thing I've never quite seen before. And I'm like, is it doing this? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, it's your lift table bearing. It's pooched. Like, get a new one. And they're like, really? It was fine the other day. And I'm like, yeah.
I feel like one thing too that you've helped us out with a lot is helping us source parts locally.
Yes.
Which is like a pretty big thing when sometimes, your canning line or packaging is from a company that's based in the States. So you don't want to, it's a $60 part, but you're paying $150 USD for shipping.
Yeah. So the big, as you guys probably both know, like the big one that gets everybody is bearings. Especially out of the States, lift table bearings for a wild goose are in the realm of like, oh man, I forget last time I looked, it was not cheap. It was a couple $100. Yeah. And it's like a $60 bearing from a company in Kamloops. Like,
yeah, definitely don't buy your bearings from them. You can buy those in Canada, easy peasy.
No, but you'd be surprised though the number of people that we talk to, or I'll go to a trade show, or I travel around, pop into a brewery, and I talk to a brewery, and they're like, I'm like, yeah, we can order you parts from, this manufacturer or this company or whatever. And they're like, oh, I always just ordered them from American Canning or from Wild Goose or from Cass, because that's where you get parts from, right?
Yeah,
I have a Ford, I take it to a Ford dealership. And we're like, okay, well, it's like 30% of the cost if you go it through us. Like, okay.
Yeah. Definitely, give Brad a ring. Otherwise, get yourself find yourself a local bearings dealer. You're going to go through a lot of them, no matter what line you have, and get a
dealers or bearings.
Festo account's good. Those kind of things.
Account.
Yeah.
McMaster Car is great.
Yeah.
I like McMaster Car to source a part. Like if I need if I don't know what a part is and I just have dimensions.
Yeah.
I use McMaster Car because they're very detailed drawings. And then I can take the kind of industry part name, and then I can source that locally from, usually there's a Canadian company that is, let's say McMaster Car is half the cost of Wild Goose.
Yeah.
The Canadian company is a third of the cost of McMaster Car, and it'll be here in 2 days.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, lots of good tips.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Great. So you can support GEC and get in touch with Brad, and he can tell you all his war stories as well from his many days of canning or packaging.
There are so many that we couldn't share on the podcast, but
or just have beer with him and chat with him if you run into him at a convention or wherever he's at. It's usually at the like you said, the BC Beer Con and things like that. So
we usually have a booth set up at the BC Beer Con.
Yeah. And if you want to support the podcast, please do tell your friends. We're on Instagram at Why This Beer. And support Aslan and I. You can buy our beer, Main Street Brewing Beer, Neighborhood Brewing Beer, and Yellow Dog Brewing Beer, wherever good beer is sold. Soon we're gonna get some sponsors on the show as well. Our bat signal has been answered, so that'll be coming down the pipe soon. So thanks again, Brad, for being in the episode.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's always nice to chat with you. It's fun.
Definitely.
We're in the same city, so we get to see each other every now and then. So
weirdly not as much as I think we should, but
it's one of those things.
We're both very busy people. Yeah.
It's usually a good thing in a way.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Every time I show
up to Darren's store, he's like, what broke this time?
Yeah. Well, thanks again, and until next time, guys, cheers.
Yeah, thanks so much,
cheers.
guys.
Thank you.